Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Kevin McGovern, and this is not Thursday, it's Sunday, a little special Sunday podcast, a little continuation of our show from Thursday, discussing the big one-on-one meeting of the minds between Jeff Fry of She Gone Nation and the Teacherman, and we're going to further pull it apart and talk about that today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my very handsome co-host, Mr. Mike Frary. Michael.
Well, thank you much, Kevin. I'm excited about tonight's episode, our special episode, Sunday night episode. This is Prove It Live podcast, by the way, and I am indeed Mike Frary from the Farm Baseball Performance Institute. And so, yeah, this is part two. So we had, part dos, yes. That's part deux. We started getting into the debate. I think it was what was it called? The main event between Richie Teacherman, Shulk, whatever his last name is, Shank, and there's also a third party in there, which we're going to talk about a little bit today. So there's a guy named John Malley, and he's worked with a bunch of different big league hitters as well. And it was really supposed to be sort of just a mediator. But I think he thought he had some interesting points in too. And really, I think what we're going to see as we get into this, we're going to take a look at, we're going to play some of the video, some of the debate.
You're looking and you want
give our thoughts on it. And I think, what I saw, Kevin, is
right there. He's still has one leg, even though the foot's
yes, I'm listening. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
This video.
So what I see a lot, the main gist of the whole thing is that this Teacherman guy. Now, there's so many things. Like number one, and Jeff talks about it in the debate too. That he just you think it's just him. It's not the players who are actually doing this and performing and actually going out and doing it. It's all him, which of course is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. And I get it. The second thing is that he does think that he's onto some secret thing that nobody else gets, sees, whatever. Not true. And so I was wondering, like, why does he think that? Why does he, and as we learn, as you see in this video, there are lots of concepts that he's not necessarily wrong about. He just has no understanding of basic human movement. He has no understanding how the body moves, which, Kevin, obviously, where you were coming to play. He almost like sees one thing, hyper focuses on that one thing and says, oh, that's the thing you have to do. Hitting is a lot of things. Hitting is hitting mechanics. Absolutely. And do I think that all the best hitters do have the same key markers in their swing and do the same thing? Sure. You're never going to see a big league hitter that doesn't turn his hips, as an example, right? We always showed like load position with hitters. They all look identical when they get load position because they're presetting their hands for contact, things like that. But it also has to do with approach, has to do with your eyesight, your how quickly you can react. How cool you are under pressure. If you're up there to bat and your heart rate's going 170 miles an hour, you're probably not, even if you have a great swing, you're probably not going to get things done. So there's a lot to unpack, but I'm ready to get rolling into it, Kev.
Like I said, this is a continuation. Our first one that was Thursday is up on YouTube. Check that out. One of the key points for me that really kind of turned me off is, of course, that the Teacherman said the spine, that quote in the video, has nothing to do with the swing. It's the forearms. That just defies everything known to man about kinesiology and human movement. That's impossible. Whether you're arguing about what comes first, the body, when we're talking about rotational movement in the transverse plane, there's three planes of the body. Transverse cuts you in half. Sagittal cuts you left and right, and coronal cuts you front and back. So when you're talking about any kind of movement plane, it's the merry-go-round principle, meaning we have to have a stable pillar to rotate around. So if we're moving our arms, that means our spine, our core has to stabilize us so that we can move our arms. But to say that you're swinging with just your forearms, and your spine has nothing to do with the swing, that's just you just lose credibility there. Like that's just it's just. I mean, we look at like even the videos. Look at Barry Bonds turning his spine. It's just how do you say that? Like I don't know how you could say the spine has nothing to do with the swing.
No, especially when he does it, he'll actually turn his hips. And in a few times he actually even mentions it. I think he slips.
Right. And that's where I'm like, like you said, there are some things that I completely agree with. But again, it's like we see these guys, especially in the pitching area, who have lots of verbiage, right? We've talked about this, have paragraphs and paragraphs of all these words. And I've been practicing a physical therapist for 27 years, and I'll read that and be like, what?
Right.
Right. It's all the big words. And people think the bigger the words, maybe the smarter the person is. The opposite is with him. He doesn't disclose. So like, well, did you see the video? If you didn't see it, then you're stupid. Well, no, I'm not stupid. Why don't you explain it so that I, when I see a new patient comes to my office, I'm like, yeah, you've got a mechanical impingement of your shoulder. Do you see it? Right. And be like, yeah, won't have any business. Right. I'm like, no, this is why you have a mechanical impingement. See how this is moving. This isn't, or this is moving too much, or your upper trap is too much engaged and you're impinging. That's what drives me nuts about. Show me, tell me in your words, what's happening first, what's happening second, what's happening third. Just don't say, if you don't see it, I'm stupid.
You can't, that's it.
Because I've looked at a lot of film, Mike, in 27 years, looked at a lot of human movement. I think I'm pretty much, I'd call myself an expert in it. Okay. Because, again, you're on the hitting side, I'm more on the pitching side. And if you're, like I said, if you're a bad pitching instructor, your client ends up on an operating table, right? So with the Tommy John surgery. So I think I'm pretty good as far as movement. Just show me what you're seeing and let's go point for point. Don't call me stupid if I don't see a show film. The one thing that we talked about was our episode 46 or something. He said there's no weight on the front leg. That's impossible. Okay. If you're standing on 2 feet, okay, unless you're a one-legged man in an ass kicking contest, you have to have weight on your front leg. Okay. You just have to. And I get his point. Maybe his point is you have to sit back. Like if we look at a hitter like Justin Turner, who I love, just sits back in that one-legged perfect squat and then explodes from there. Is that what you're talking about? Like, is that what you're saying? Like, just say it. Like, there's other people that have come. There's other coaches out there. Like, just nope, you don't see it, you're stupid. So
I don't think that he can. I don't think he can see it. I don't think that he sees what's actually going on in terms of the sequential motion, right? What's moving and when. And I don't think he really can see that. He talks about, well, you don't want to, land on your front foot because then you're like, well, no one that gets over their front foot to swing.
No, that's called stepping in the bucket, right? That's a misnomer, right?
It's a lot of things. You can call it a lot of things. They just call it bad hitting, right? But you start from an athletic position. Jeff Fry calls it balance, and it is. It's like if you're in a position to squat, say all the time, a load position when you're about to hit is athletically the same as defensive position in basketball. It's how you would skate or skate backwards. It's a tennis player getting ready to return a serve. It's all of those things. It's the same athletic position. It's your feet are wider than your shoulders, your hips are back, your butt's down, you're in a mini squat, your weight's on the inside part of your feet. Okay, that's an athletic position. And you can't just be on one leg. You rotate off the front leg because as you turn, the front leg is stable. If you watch these hitters, the front leg's stable and the hips are rotating around the front leg, not the back leg. And that's what they say. And he doesn't understand that. And that's why I think you get things like, what's the term he uses? Releasing the torsion force. What are you talking about? Explain that. And I can't believe no one understands. Can you tell me what torsion force is?
Yeah. So what I can tell you what he's, when you load anything, right? Or even if it's the slingshot principle, right? It's called potential energy, right? I pull a
potential energy to kinetic energy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I pull a slingshot back. I pull a rubber band back. I load in hitting. I load to do, start off a deadlift. I'm loading or I'm stretching those muscles, right? And those muscles essentially don't want to be stretched and they want to like release. And that's called potential energy. That's something that can be measured, right? But don't make up words, right? The words are out there. Okay. So you're loading, you're getting, and those who think that you load from the ground, that's also, incorrect. Okay. The load starts from your core because that's where your spinal cord is to even signal, for the foot to load or the hip to sink. Right. So, yes, your ground gives you equal and opposite force back. That's physics. But everything starts again at the core, at the spine, because we can get rid of your legs and put prosthetics on them. You can still move. We can't get rid of your spine because, well, you don't move after that. So there's no argument about that. You can't. That's it. I mean, because if you are paralyzed, you can't move.
Right.
So just it's just these made up kind of words, and I mean, I don't know. Just like with everyone, especially when you're teaching someone, I always tell people, okay, what do you feel? Tell me where you think the movement should start, and that's a big learning curve, and that's what I want to hear. Where does the movement start? Because it's not flipping your wrists. There's no chance that anyone is flipping their wrist first before they're rotating their hips.
You would generate no bat speed either. You would generate bat speed.
No chance. That's not happening. It's not.
And
the core is moving first, and the hands are coming in line with the kinetic chain.
Right. Well, I think, and obviously you'd agree with this, as athletes, you want to be efficient. When you shoot a basketball, the force of the shot comes from your legs and your core. It comes from the big muscles. You're being that's being efficient.
Sport, golf,
in any sport, right?
Yeah,
right?
Anything. Tennis,
basketball is just it's a good example because you're coming up. The last thing you handle, your hand releases the ball. Your hand's just the steering wheel for that ball, right? It might add a little bit of extra force at the end, some touch, but the force, and that's why you see when they people shoot from like half court, they really get down on a squat and they really spring up, right? So it's the same thing in any athletic motion. It's just how the body works. You want the big muscles to do the work, not the little muscles like the forearms, right?
All right, so you've got some timestamps.
Yeah,
35-minute mark. So let me
let's
see.
start at 35 because, and we'll just hear what John Malley has to say. I think this is important because they use videos a lot, especially Richie here likes to use videos.
So here's the thing.
See that difference on this one over here. He's leaping to his front legs and then swinging like that. He's going through. He's
got Bryce Harper up here, and you can the Bryce Harper. That's obviously glaring. You can see the difference in right versus left for sure.
You can
definitely see. I mean, he's in the right video. I mean, he's off his front foot. And he's literally lunging at the ball. But again,
this is the new swing.
He's still hitting.
Yep, he's still hitting. He's very athletic. He's arguably.
Here's the other thing no one talks about, right? What about the that thing called hand-eye coordination, right? Being able to get to there,
You're right, but now listen to how John rebuts this. This is really, I think, poignant.
Here he comes.
I'd like.
There you go.
Thank you, Rich, very much. Next, we have Jeff Fry. Real quick, I want to address some of those because I coached some of those players. One thing when you watch film that I do want to note is that pitch that Bryce was swinging at was a neck ball that was way up and high, and his adjustability allowed him to push up off the ground. Had Altuve when he was a batting champion, and he actually hit a ball where both feet were off the ground. He jumped up and hit it on a hit and run. So my point is, in film, not that Rich is not saying what is correct. My point is, when you watch film, I can make the film look like anything you want to see. I can show you that of Bryce and then show him now.
That's a good point.
The difference, right? Okay. When I had Bryce, 19 and 20. Josh, when was I there? 19.
You can pause it there, Kev.
Okay.
So real important point, right? And I see this all the time too. And I don't even think it's trickery. I think it's more confirmation bias, is that someone wants to show example of what they want, of what they believe should be in a swing. And you can see somebody, it could be that same hitter, like in the case here with Bryce Harper, where it's a completely different situation. And as John Malley points out, the pitch location was different and he's adjusting. He probably shouldn't even have swung at that pitch in the bad photo and the bad swing, right? But he's got the adjustability to still get his hands and get the barrel. The other thing is, what were the counts in those two videos? Was it 2-0 and he's jumping on something on the left video and he's 0-2 and has to go after that ball because he thinks he's going to get rung up if he doesn't? So you got to take... right? You got to take the video with a grain of salt. You don't know the whole situation. And, I could say, hey, look at this guy swing. He lunges out on his front leg and only swings with his bottom hands. Well, yeah, you can find a video of someone that gets fooled 0-2 on a break-in pitch and is just trying to make contact with the ball, right? So you got to match. If you are looking for videos out there of examples on, what to look like as as you're swinging the bat, make sure that when you put into the search, Mike Trout home run or Bryce Harper home run, make sure it's a good result on the ball. So I thought that was really important.
Yeah, so what you're saying, would you ever in a million years teach how Yogi Berra used to hit? My dad said he's probably the best bad ball hitter ever, hit balls off the ground,
Yeah. So Vladdy Guerrero, another guy,
right?
Right. And someone who I think if you looked at Vlad Guerrero's swing, a lot of people would call it long. Now, the next video we're going to look at, Kev, is that's what they're talking about, this famous barrel turn thing, right? So, getting deep as Richie talks about, he actually says, and this is the thing that they don't talk about much in this debate, and I wish they talked about it more, and John Malley brings it up once or twice, is Richie will teach on these videos that you're sending the barrel back. You're literally throwing it backwards to go forward, right? And this is what I think he really confuses. He thinks he sees these in the video, and he's really seeing is, like you said, potential energy. The hands are here, right? They have to turn over to get the barrel flat in the zone. And so as they start to rotate and their hands are coming last, you're going to get
you're
first to the core.
Right.
So if you go to, I think it's the 37-minute mark, right around that range. There you go.
Bryce.
Yep.
Bryce knew that he had some big separation. Bryce knew that he had some slack in his swing, meaning as he rotated, because he creates so much lower half in his hands that his belly button will be all the way forward and his hands will be back here. That's called slack or drag. We can call it anything you want. It's long. And Bryce knew that he had to.
Some of those pitching guys denied that there's lag.
He took to try to the sequence where he would land and let his hand slide in the slot, and his actual upper body swing his lower half because he knew he had too much of this separation. Okay. Ian, who I had in Chicago, came up in 17, like Rich said, he raked. He had like a 900 some OPS, hit a bunch of homers. And the following year in 18, something happened, right? He didn't get a chance to play a ton. Well, he played a ton. He's leading off, but he couldn't hit a high fastball. That's a fact. And he got the high fastball because he did believe in the snap, which I don't disagree with, but his slotting was really low instead of where Rich will I've seen some of his demonstrations where he does that turn on different planes. Ian's hands would kind of drop into his slot. So he had to work very hard on the same kind of principles, but making sure that his initial entry in his mind.
So Mike, right there when he's talking about, to me, like in the golf, especially in the golf swing, right? Because the precision, obviously, I know that it's not moving, but to deliver any kind of club to a little golf ball to hit it straight, your arms and hands have to be married. They could lag back, right? But at some point, they've got to be married. So it sounds like to me that it's not married. Like he's out ahead of it or whatever, and he ends up what's called, but I would call casting, right?
Yep.
But it sounds like he's talking about with both of those hitters.
Correct. Right? Well, he was talking about, so, Bryce Harper, we talk about quick hips, Barry Bonds being the fast, Bryce Harper is right up there. I saw Bryce Harper, one of my players brought him when he was like a YouTube sensation back when he was like 15 years old. He was launching balls out of like every major league park, going to these showcases. And I was like, this kid has the quickest hips I've ever seen in my life. And so you would see, he was getting his hands back. And I don't know if that's something. It is something that seemed to change from his swing from when he was younger. He used to be more tighter in here, just outside his shoulder. And then he started getting longer, started extending his bottom arm a little bit. And John Malley did a perfect like imitation of him. Like he turned his belly buttons to the pitcher and his hands are still way back here. And he's right. And so there's a lot of reasons for that, right? He wants to keep his hands back. His midsection is that fast where it's hard to keep them married. But when he's hitting best, they are more married for sure. To answer your question, you want those to be more married. You don't want your hips to be completely gone and then your hands to gone nowhere yet. Right. But I'm sure when in that point, you lose the barrel.
Right. When his hands are back there, these guys have to have amazing hand-eye coordination, which again, no one talks about, and there are trainers for that. You'll see, there's a lot of goalies use, but I never see these guys talking about improving that. You have a great swing, but if you don't have a good hand-eye coordination, you're not going to hit it.
Well, and there's stuff that we,
Right? I mean, I can swing all day, but if I can't see it and get it, I'm not going to hit it. Right. I mean,
right. Well, it's a special kind of hand eye for a hitter. Cause again, I always say it's hand eye plus 30 inches. Right. So where the sweet spot is up in there, you got a 34-inch bat. It's that spot between 27 to 30 inches that you've got to actually hit with. It's not your hands. You're not coordinated with your hands. It's that distance away.
Good
right.
point.
So it's a whole special skill that you've got to develop. And I think, you have to have good hand eye to begin with in order to learn that. But yes, that's such an important part. And you can work on it. Like they make these little tiny baseballs that are the same weight as a regular baseball. They have those strobe glasses. We used to use the Nike strobe glasses, things like that to help work on it. But yeah, it's one of those things you got to do. It's like vision, right? Talked about Ted Williams, right? And, he allegedly had 20/10 vision.
Yep.
Right? That's going to obviously help you.
And there's actually a lot of optometrists, ophthalmologists who specialize in sports vision training because it is so important. It is.
Yeah, I don't want to misquote him because I don't remember exactly what the quote is, but Jim Rice mentioned something along the lines like LASIK surgery. He said they had LASIK surgery when I was, playing. I still would have played another 5 years and succeeded. Right. So,
and in the zone was above the ball. And we can argue about that all you want. All I know is from an application standpoint in the big leagues, biggest troubles that I have are getting someone to be able to hit an elevated fastball. Okay. With Rich's theories, he believes and he demonstrates on some of his things. He didn't do it here today. That's one of the questions about adjustability is how do you teach that? Is there a different entry for different heights of the ball? Meaning I can show you a film of Mikey hitting a high fastball when he lands and his initial entry into the zone from launch to connection is up in here in the barrels above his hands. Okay. And then the pitches are low. You would see a lower slotted elbow and you would see the barrel here. Now the bat's 34 inches long. When you watch the Manny video, when you watch those different things, their hands are still making a positive move forward. Nobody is doing this. And Rich is not talking about dumping the barrel in this regard. When you make your initial movement,
kind of is,
and you get just a slight.
That's what I don't agree with. He actually is talking about dumping the barrel.
Under for you.
That is one of the drills. If you'll see with the PVC pipe, flipping the wrist backwards. That is 100% false. What you just said.
You're right. You can pause it there because the next one's going to be at 40. It's going to be something a little bit different. He talks about, which we're pretty much there. We can just play it through in a minute, but before we move on, you're right. He is talking about dumping the barrel and losing the barrel. And, the movement is back and down, right? And again, does the barrel take that sort of path as you rotate? Yeah. Does this look back and down? Yeah, it kind of does.
But you're connected, right?
You wouldn't
chop a tree and flip the axe backwards, right? You'd have no power.
Right. Exactly. And I'll tell you, John Malley's right. Your hands will have different points of entry. And now we're talking inches. You're not going to start from here and then go from here for a pitch that's down. Right. But there is a little bit. And then you'll see John talk a little bit later about vertical bat path. Right. So, when you hit a ball, a pitch that's down, I don't know if you can see this, Kevin. Right. But the bat's going to look like this.
Right.
Pitch is up. It's going to look like this. And like this, if it's higher, etc. If it's down in a way, it's going to have an angle back and an angle down. And so that's all top hand control. And that's what I think the biggest miss that Richie has is what the action of the top hand. It guides the barrel. It's your guide hand for a reason. And, he sees that guide hand turning the barrel from completely vertical, right, up and down to horizontal or generally horizontal in the zone. He sees that motion and he just runs with that and goes like, that's the whole thing. No, it's not.
Right. It's not the whole thing. 100%. Okay. I'll run this now.
Right here. And I make my initial move there and I barrel turn naturally. The barrel's still way deep in the zone. I think what Rich is talking more about is creating speed back there instead of just letting it drag and go slow through that point. Okay. Scott Kingery had problems, went down the minor leagues and raked, came up to the big leagues. He was one of the lowest fastball performance hitters in baseball.
That's interesting.
We had to fix in the sense of making sure that he's working above this ball. His problem was less, in my opinion, was just like most people, he wanted to be the best in the world at it. So when you told him to coil, he's going to coil all right. And he started to coil so much that his back was almost to the pitcher. And then as he rotated from that
He's
spot,
late.
Yep.
he was here and he was underneath and he had trouble with velo. Anything over 93 and above, he had trouble with. Then he worked on working above that and being tighter and still making that initial turn in his mind. And he started to hit the heater again. Now, after that, now he's in the minor leagues. I'm not saying that's related to anything other than he's a great player, but his fastball performance. We have to be able to hit number one, and we have to be able to hit velocities. Game's built. Okay. So I just wanted to answer and touch on some of the things that he said about some of those players. All right. Next, we have Mr. Jeff Fry, teacher of the Qigong movement. I talked to Jeff.
All right, I want to pause there.
Yeah.
One thing I
You
wanna
had the
stress-
feel versus real.
talked about
That's
feel versus
Oh,
real.
yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
Is what you actually think and
Right.
what actually happens sometimes are two different things, right? Okay. I had a couple players, I'm not going to name them, but they had a very, very, very steep move. And when you're looking and you're watching at home, you're going, dude, why are you letting this guy? You're the hitting coach. Why does he do this? Okay. He's not trying to do that. If you watch his work, he was a back leg guy. I had him try to hit pop-ups to the catcher. Okay. I had everything had to go in the air in BP. His flips had to go over my head. And the hope was to flatten him out. Okay. So now, if you look at another guy who's really, Andrew, I'm not gonna use names, a guy was really steep and losing the barrel and being underneath constantly. Those guys, when you come to my cage, I'm telling him to chop down, get his head in front of center and beat the ball on the ground. And you go, Males, why would you tell him this? And you're telling him this? Because they got two different issues.
there you go.
Yep.
So the
But
way you would instruct, coach and instructor, you have to be able to address the individual. And then you got to be equipped with
I always say with that, it's overcorrecting to back off to get them to, I mean, you teach something that's way on the other end so that they back off and end up somewhere in the middle.
well, see, so I would disagree with that a little bit. And that's why I wanted to make note of it, because I don't think that you necessarily want to overcorrect, because what you could be doing is you could be creating a new bad habit. Instead, why not just teach everybody how to hit? Right. Teach
Yep.
everybody the motion. So you're,
Valid point.
you know what I'm saying? So, and again, and this is, and we're going to hear from Jeff in a minute, and we love Jeff, and, we're big supporters of the Qigong Nation. And I think, one of the things that I think I may differ a little bit from Jeff is that I do believe that there are key markers in the swing that everyone's going to have: Ted Williams, Barry Bonds, etc.
Yes. So you wanted a 101, it looks like. Let me get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, because we already went through all this other stuff yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Winter ball for the first time. I had always heard that winter ball was where you really find out if you can play at the next level. So I'd go to Venezuela. This guy actually saw me play there. He said he was 11 years old. He made me feel old, but go to Venezuela, 1991. I'm voted the most popular player in Venezuela for some reason. Hit 300, make the All-Star team. Rangers put me on the 40-man roster. I go to AAA Oklahoma City for 87 games. I know because Tommy Thompson, I was talking to somebody about Tommy earlier, played me every single game. I didn't get a game off. I hit over 387 games. And got called up to the big leagues in 1992. As a 5'5", 135-pound kid that everybody said was too small and too slow to make it to the big leagues. Okay, I played for 15 years professionally, just over 9 years in the major leagues. Hit 290 for my career.
Did you really hit 290, huh?
But the type
Yeah,
of
290
player
lifetime
I
hitter.
was, or the type of player that I was told I needed to be, was what I became. And when I first got into pro ball, they
This
knew
is
I
it here.
had the power. Okay. So they said, you need to get on base. You need to work the count. You need to be able to do everything situationally. Hit and run, move runners, bunt, whatever the situation called for, you need to be able to do.
They don't
So
do that
that's what
now.
I did.
No.
Okay. I wanted to get to the big leagues. I figured these guys wanted me to get to the big leagues. They're going to tell me what I need to do. So I focused on that. My goal was to hit a line drive. When I missed the ball, it needed to be a ground ball. I was told not to hit the ball in the air. I mean, I would actually get yelled at when I hit the ball in the air. So I prided myself on hitting line drives, hitting ground balls. Okay. When it was the situation called for, I moved a runner.
So now, Mikey, we had a show a while back.
Mhm.
That guy ripped me apart, told me Ken Cherry Holmes cuckoo that I didn't know what a ball in the air was, because a ball in the air is anything that's not on the ground, right? That's
Right.
That's how they major league. That's how they stat it, right? So that's different now, right? Because we want everything. Everyone's talking about in the air. Is that just a switch in metrics? Is that the bean counters? Because I mean, right, you don't want a player like Jeff Fry to be hitting the ball in the air because he doesn't have enough power. I mean, maybe he's not like an Altuve. I mean, maybe he can gap it. But I guess is Jeff Fry hitting 290, which is like 50 points higher than most players are hitting nowadays, isn't in the major leagues today.
So,
right? I mean, is this guy a good defender, right? Even if he's a backup, right? Is he in the major leagues in this era?
I think who Jeff is because Jeff, just as he just told you, he's going to become what you need him to be. And I think that's a lost art. And
Great point.
So, no matter where you are, you can only bat 9 guys, right? If you don't travel ball and other stuff, you can bat 11 or whatever, but there's always the bottom of the lineup guy. All right. And especially on good teams, those guys are often good players, but they're not the 3 hitter. And you got to know you're not the 3 hitter. And I don't need you as the 9 hitter to be up there taking G hacks, trying to drive gaps. I need you to get on base. Let's get on base. If my number 9 hitter's leading off an inning, I get on base. I get the top of the order coming up with nobody out and a runner on already. Huge win, right? And so I think there's definitely a lost art to what Jeff's talking about. Of hitters being aware of what kind of hitter that they need to be. And I'm talking more at the youth level. I think they start to figure out, college coaches will start to teach that, et cetera. And people start to figure that out that, hey, if I want to stay on the field, I got to do what's expected of me, not necessarily what I want to do. Now, with that said, real quickly, I think the bean counters have changed that a little bit, because one thing that they didn't have, I think, when Jeff played was the metrics that, oh, wow, when you put the ball in the air, your chances of a hit go up exponentially according to the stats.
Right.
So now that's when they started teaching everybody more of a power swing and more of a leg swing and hit, leg and hip swing and type of thing. So,
and that's where I'm sure the launch angle has come in, right?
Correct. Absolutely. Which, by the way, people get very confused with bat angle, attack angle, and we don't need to go into that. We've done a show, and we probably should come back around and do that again on the heels of this. But yes, those things
is the result after you hit the ball.
Correct. Yeah, it's the angle of the ball.
Just like a golf ball, you got a 60-degree wedge, but can you get it over the big tree in front of you? Right. That's your launch angle.
That's right. Big difference.
Right.
Okay. We used to have, back in those days, we had a cat and mouse game. Okay. I knew that if this right-handed pitcher was throwing 2 seamers in on me, or had a good 2-seamer, that he was going to try and pitch me out, knowing I was going to try and move that runner to second. So I had a decision to make. What am I going to do? Just sit here and get jammed and roll over 1 to third and not move the runner over? No, I would back off the plate and make the inside part of the plate the middle of the plate. Okay. I knew I could cover away. If he kept pounding me in, I would bunt. Whatever the situation of the game called for was how I changed my approach. Okay. When I walked up to the home plate, I had a plan. Not every at bat. There's a couple of times where I thought I hit a homer when we were losing 10.
So important.
It never worked.
Very important, right?
I had a plan,
especially
for
today's
batter's box.
Especially for little guys.
Before I step in, I would check out all the infielders and outfielders, and seeing how they're playing me. Okay. The third baseman's back, giving me the bunt.
No, you got the next one here.
You get your barrel.
106, I think you got here.
Drive the ball to right field. And that's what we did. That's the way we played the game. Okay. Like he said earlier, I do my job for this guy. He does it for the next guy. And that's how you develop a winning strategy as baseball players. Okay. Today, the game has gone to home run or nothing. A lot of these swings we see. And a lot of these swings we see, these power hitters, it's either all or nothing. So
that's why the strikeout numbers are way up.
You mean Joey Callow?
Joey,
I didn't want to bring this up, but
there you go.
It's kind of
this is interesting.
Given to me on a silver platter by my friend. But some of the players that Rich was talking about have been very successful, especially Aaron Judge. Okay, Aaron Judge was a first-round draft pick and a big leaguer before he worked the Rich. Okay, like a lot of big leaguers, he struggled his first September in the big leagues. Okay. Most guys do. Okay. Whether or not the changes that Rich worked on with Aaron helped or not, obviously he had a great season. But when you look at somebody who's 6'7", 280 pounds, freakish athlete, maybe one of the top athletes in all of
Played
Major League
basketball in high
Baseball.
school with a broken leg.
Okay, and this guy makes an adjustment, has a great season.
Didn't know it was broken.
To say it's because of you, I have
And he's
a problem
adopted.
with, because I had a lot of great hitting coaches in my career. Rudy Jaramillo, Cito Gaston, Clint Hurdle, Gary Gaetti. And no matter what I did, these guys never took credit for what I did. I don't believe good coaches take credit for their players, because the players who's in the box getting it done. Your job as a coach is to coach that player. Okay, your job
Well,
is
that's
to
the
help
whole
him get
social
better.
media, right?
And
Look
when
what
he
I've
does,
done with
he's
so and
the
so.
one who did it.
Yep.
Okay. And I have a problem with coaches when they take credit. I have never heard John Malley. I met John Malley over the phone 2 weeks ago, and he's worked with Shohei Ohtani, Chris Bryant, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout. I can guarantee you he's never taken 1 ounce of credit for what those guys did. Okay.
Ouch. I didn't hear
Now-
this part.
The Shigon movement.
Mhm.
How many of you guys know what the Shigon?
All right. You can
Right.
pause that.
All right. We'll go
So-
next. Do you have
Well, hold on a second. We want to talk about that.
okay.
I think that again, it's where's all this stuff? Where do the pitching coaches come from with all the big words, trying to sound like doctors, all that stuff, right? And the Richies of the world. Where do they come from? What's it about? That's what it's about. It's about, look what I know. I have information that you would love to have. I'm a genius. I'm an expert. I'm a guru, whatever. And I think that he's onto something, because that is hurting the game in a lot of ways, and at the end of the day, I work with kids all the time with hitting, and I show them lots of things that they don't yet know. At the end of the day, they got to do it. They got to perform it. And
Right.
then they have to go out, and then they have to have the mental approach, and they have to have the hand eye, and they have to have the smart decision to not chase a 2-0 fastball out of the zone, things like that. Right. So you're the one that has to go into, you're the one putting in all the work. I don't come out of a lesson sweating my took us off.
Shillelagh off. Yeah.
They do. They're the ones that put in the work, and they should be getting the credit for that. And by the way, the fact that they're there wanting to learn, they're humble, they're saying that I want information. I think that's great. And you got too many people that, like I said, Richie's up there, and you're thinking it's just literally all about him, and you're a dope if you don't know what he knows. But I won't go too much into that, because we do want to, now we get into Richie here a little bit, making some outlandish statements. So let's see.
just to that point, I have, I've been in business for a long time. You've been in business for a long time. And, like I have talked about numerous times, that baseball, and not just that made baseball, we'll definitely hear more of that this week when we have Kevin Barr on our show on Thursday, the former strength and conditioning coach from Miami Marlins. The negative result, right? We talked about Alex Guerrero having this incredible result from Tom Brady, and he's like shunned, right?
Right.
Like he's worse than Joe Rogan right now, right?
Yeah.
And then but then you've got these other guys out there who have these like really kind of poor results. So for the last couple of years, I've been actually in my practice, and then when someone like these sales guys call me, oh, we got the best marketing thing, and we're gonna
Right.
show me your worst results, and it's like silence, right? Show me the guy or the company that you did the worst with.
Right.
Right. And that's what I want to tell. He's like, oh yeah, I got this guy, these driveline guys. Okay. Show me your worst result.
It's like gamblers.
Right. Show me your worst result, which we know the worst result for these pitching guys is, 10, 11, 12-year-olds that have had, surgery. Right.
Yep.
That's
Or
the worst
even doesn't
result.
even have to be that bad. The fact that they're on the shelf being hurt.
On the shelf hurt. Right. But you
Yep.
never hear about that. Right.
No.
So, we're talking about results. You're only as good as your worst result. Right. Okay. Everyone catches lightning, and you have a few successes. Okay. But no one has 1,000% successes. Show me your worst guy, and then what you did to get that guy or gal to be better.
Yeah. I think
Like
that's
you said,
great.
Mike, when someone go, oh, well, where did they play? It doesn't matter where they played. It matters when they coached where the kids that we've coached,
Where
where
their
they
students
play,
are playing. Right.
where the students are playing. That's gold, right? Like where are they playing? And if he worked with Aaron Judge, I mean, I remember Aaron Judge come up, he couldn't hit in September, and maybe the teacher man's got something to do with that. But I mean, did he work with him this season? But he also hit 50 home runs and hasn't sniffed that since. So
Hey, let me throw another one more thing out there too on the topic before we move on. I've seen this. I've had, and I think we've talked about it in the podcast. I'm not going to get with a kid. I'd say it's a high school kid, and this has happened. I've had, a guy this guy would call me up sometimes. He had 2 kids. At the time, they're juniors and sophomores in high school, good players, varsity players, both went on to play college. And I used to, hit with them when they were little or whatever. And then he'd call me up every once in a while if they were in a funk and say, hey, can I get my 2 boys in and see you? And they'd come in and I would do one lesson with them. Okay. And then they would go out and I'd get a text. Hey, that was great. Thanks. They went, one went 3 for 4 today. The other went 2 for 4, the home run. And that wasn't me. I'm not going to do anything in one session with kids that's going to change them to the point where they're going to change the results from like complete funk to hitting home runs. But what does happen is those kids are now more confident because they worked on it. They saw their hitting coach today. I saw my hitting coach. I feel good. There's that too. And maybe that's part of what happened with Aaron Judge, is the fact that he knew I'm addressing an issue. I'm trying to fix it right now. That does a lot for confidence, and confidence has so much to do with hitting. I mean, that's something we haven't talked about. Confidence is like, number one. So yeah. All right.
Want me to stick with this here? Let's see here.
What are we on? So we want to go to
new
Started
method.
by accident.
You want to?
I
credits go. You
promise
want
you, I had no
123.
plan.
yeah, let's go on to 123. Let's go to Little Richie.
Get
All
different
right. So we have
There we go.
123.
elevated
There
peg,
we
That's
go.
good. Good.
peg
Richie.
straighter. The peg that's low is going to have an angle coming down.
So this is talking about adjustability, the
You wanna
height of the
match
pitches.
plane and hit that peg and hit square through whatever object that it's in. If you came in this way on the low peg, you're going to flatten it out. You won't be able to hit through it. You came this way on the high peg, you're going to lift it up. You're not going to be able to hit through it. So in regards to adjustability with the HLP swing, or your thoughts of, using your hands, for example, would you demonstrate how your concepts allow you to hit the high peg and drive through it and then drive through the low peg?
First of all, you got to understand that the swing is not around the spine.
Hold on. Okay, here we go.
Get different heights.
There we go.
Rich didn't talk about this today, but he has mentioned before, and I like
Right.
Spine.
The swing
around the
is
forearms.
not, it's around the forearms.
Okay.
Okay.
Hold on there. Don't play yet. Go ahead.
Forearms don't go around.
That's right. Exactly.
See, if you want to talk afterwards, I'll demonstrate.
Yeah, you can demonstrate it, but you don't
If
demonstrate
you
it
have
right
to
now.
Move your hands before you swing the bat. You're not very good.
If you don't move your hands before you swing the bat,
I think you said if you have to move your hands,
have to?
which
Let's
which
rewind
is
that.
confusing compared to the last thing you said. But yeah,
thoughts of, using your hands, for example.
Let's-
Would you demonstrate
there we go.
how
Let's play the
your
whole thing. I won't last.
concepts allow you to hit the high peg and drive through it and then drive through the low peg?
First of all, you got to understand that the swing is not around the spine.
Oh,
It's around the forearm.
around the forearms.
Okay. This won't make sense to you. If you want to talk afterwards, I'll
Won't make
demonstrate
sense
it.
because you're stupid. Won't
Yeah.
make sense.
If you have to move your hands before you swing the bat, you're not very good. So if my hand's set right here at the top of zone and I get a high pitch,
Okay, so
It's
if
right
I didn't
there.
move my hands, Rich, what moved?
exactly.
What moved? You
Right.
fat bastard. Okay, your swing. I'm watching you turn your hips
Around the spine.
around,
the spine. Around the spine.
position, boom.
What moved?
If the pitch is a little lower, boom.
Boom. Right. What?
Lower,
Boom.
boom.
Changing a spine angle
Lower,
and turning
boom.
a spine.
Outside, boom.
Yep.
Inside,
Boom.
boom.
But spine's got
There's a
nothing to
pivot
do with it.
point Right here.
Unbelievable.
That you don't have to make a plane adjustment move before you swing.
Pause.
You're
He
on
just
plane
did
before
make a
you pitch.
plane adjustment. He tilted it-
Exactly.
He tilted his hips every single pitch. I'm watching him.
Right. Well, not only that, but this is a plane adjustment here, in
Yeah.
here, in here.
Right.
Like,
And
and
he's
he just
tilting his spine angle.
correct. And so again, back to
Telling me he's not.
right. He just doesn't understand how the body moves. He's not. He's that, and it made me think. I go, wait a minute. Like, he clearly studies hitting. All right, say what you want about him, but he clearly studies hitters or whatever. So he can't be that clueless to think that he doesn't know how the body rotates, but he doesn't. I've come to the conclusion he does not understand how the body moves. He just rotated however many fake swings he had there. By the way, I said this to you pre-show. I love how he always uses some non-bat. He always uses some light thing to make it look like he's whipping the bat around. Like, put a 34-inch bat in your hand and do the same thing. Let's see what kind of bat speed you're generating, right?
Yeah, like
spinning off your back leg.
Curling stick or something.
Yeah, it's like the one that's like a spatula
I'm
on the
watching
end.
the guy move from the belly button, and each time to go tilting his spine angle and then telling me it's his forearms.
And also, Kevin, he's not doing this.
Right. He's
He's not doing that thing that he said. Now all of a sudden he's doing this and this, which is more appropriate to a real swing, but he's not doing what he would teach.
I guess we got the torsion
It's just
thing.
thrown. Because from this spot right here, the barrel can go like that, or it can go like that, or it can go like that. It can go any direction you want it to go.
Right. So as you notice now, what Rich is saying is we talk about vertical bat angle, right? So that vertical bat angle, the lower the pitch, it makes sense that the bat angle would be more vertical, right? The higher the pitch, the bat would be flatter.
You can stop there. Okay, we can go to the next one because we watched this one. We watched that the other day too. He talks about.
Well, here's his torsion, right? We got that's right after this.
3D. When I first came up, we would stride and we'd only had this angle, right? And we said the axis of rotation goes from your head down your spine,
okay, right,
up into the ground.
This is there.
You want to stay on this axis of rotation, right?
Agreed, 1000%.
Learn to look at it from the 3D look. Okay, nobody is standing straight up. When they land, their posture
lordosis
5 to 30 degrees.
Right.
Now your axis of rotations.
But the axis rotation on the angle is coming from the hips, not the spine. He's not flattening out his spine.
Trying not to let any side bend happen. Trying not, because my understanding from the film and from the biokinetics lab says
it's not side bend. It's a squat.
Right.
So what I had was guys that were falls down. They were beating on the ground. They were trying to
you're
Logan Morris
tilting your hips back.
I said, Logan, you can't tilt your head. It's going to turn you underneath too soon.
They call it pelvic tilt, hip hinge, right? All those different.
Now tell me how your head can go like that when the ball is down here. It can't, because your posture tilts. When your posture tilts, your head's straight here. It's not going to go like this.
But it's in line with your spine.
That's correct.
Right.
You're correct there.
So there is some thought of controlling your body's center of mass, which is dynamic balance. Is your head, your sternum, and your belly button. Wherever that goes, your body weight goes. You want to control your body's center of mass and its negative move. We know we have to go back before we go forward. Some guys don't. You don't have to. Okay. And then when they land, you want to maintain that posture through a sequence rotation and into the finish. And that's just the basic fundamentals and foundation that we've been trying to teach for a long time. But I wanted Rich to demonstrate.
Agreed. 1,000%.
If he hadn't explained that, we'd all left here thinking this.
Well, that's because what he says.
That's what he does for every clinic that he puts on.
Is that correct?
Right.
Exactly.
Yep. And that's what his disciples are out there doing on Twitter every day. Yeah.
I think the ball, wherever the ball's at, determines your barrel path.
Right.
And what I think he teaches with the HLP
Let's
swing
see,
is
it's 120. There you go. Let's see.
I talk about what I call 3D loading, and I'll go into that later if you want. But this
Oh boy. Okay. Pause for a second. So what they're asking here is, one of the questions they got was, how are you going to be able to stay on time with off-speed pitches, right? Given the method he wants you going on your back foot and coming forward. Okay.
Yep.
And so this is his answer to that. And it's absurd.
Let me go back one.
Yeah.
Click.
most of my
Okay, there we go.
when they are correct, they're going to have their torsion load.
Torsion load.
They're going to be
Yeah.
moving forward slowly. I talk about what I call 3D loading, and I'll go into that later if you want. But this
Oh,
is
go into
right
it
here.
now.
Okay, I'm coiling, I'm stretching my back, and I'm
Coiling.
going forward at the same
His
time.
back knee is so unstable.
Right.
If
Well, he
you can
falls
hold
over.
this position,
I know, right there. Look at that. See the wobble? Look at that. Look at that.
no matter what
Right.
ball comes out of the pitch.
So,
Okay.
guys, just so you know, any human being of any size can throw down someone 5 times bigger than them from behind by getting their weight over their pinky toe of their foot, which is he's showing us as his weight is wobbling that back foot. Watch Barry Bonds, watch Tiger Woods, watch any golfer, any hitter that back foot is solid into the ground and you turn around or about that foot. Or
And the back knee stays
load.
inside the foot too.
That's correct. The back knee goes left or right or over the toe. You are in a dangerous situation. And he's literally showing you that right
Raise your
now.
hand. If
Completely
you're
unstable.
here for the
As his
fastball,
knee,
you'll just
Right
as
there.
he's wobbling, and then it's forward over the toe.
Go back for a
I've done-
second. See if you can pause on that.
And I've done live demonstrations of showing
I
people
encourage him to do it, but it just
getting,
wouldn't work for me.
getting your knee over
They
your
are
toe and
correct.
how much I can just like push you
They're
down
going
with
to
one
have their
finger
torsion load.
on the
They're
torsion
going to be
load.
moving forward slowly. I talk about what I call 3D loading, and I'll go into that later if you want. But this move right here.
Boom. So there's his knee isn't even loaded, right?
No.
Like
It gets even worse,
he
too.
actually stood up, right?
Yep.
Okay,
He's gonna do it again. Watch how wobbly it gets here.
but back, and I'm going forward at the same time.
Well, next one.
If
Because he's talking about trying to stay back.
ever,
Right.
this move forever.
Look at that. Look at that.
His hand. If you're right here for the fastball, you'll
Look at
just
his knee.
hold
Look at
the
his
tip
knee
for the
wobbling.
sweep pitch.
Now I understand the guy's an
We
old
got a
guy,
great
but
drill
you
that
know,
teaches it.
but the knee is over the toe. Like,
10-year
so what he
problems
should be saying there is those things, right? So when you talk about he doesn't know movement, here's what you should be saying. Because he's correct that you have to stay loaded, but it should be the weight needs to be on my entire foot, most of it on the instep, on my big toe and arch, because that's what it's there for. My groin needs to be activated, my hip hinge, so that my hamstring, my glute, my back extensors are loaded. But he doesn't know that, right?
No. And he doesn't know how to do that.
He doesn't know how to do that or how to explain that. He'll say, watch the film, or I'll talk about like he just doesn't know it, right? But yes, if you want to see someone load great, in my opinion, one of the best that I've seen is Justin Turner. Just look at him load. Find a picture where he is literally in a one-legged squat.
Mhm.
That's how you want to be, but he can't articulate that. And then if you question it, you're just stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. Well,
My example would be Jose Batista in terms of a load.
another good
Unbelievable.
one. Yep, another good
Right?
one. Yep.
And so, I don't know if you know this, Kevin, but what he's talking about, you know what his torsion load is? He's saying to twist your body around your back leg.
Which is going to make you late, in my opinion.
It's not what you do. You're supposed to.
It's lengthening your swing.
Yes, and it's just not loading. When you load, you want to get into a backside that's resisting that movement.
Right.
So you're moving back, and your knees stay inside, resisting in. The arch side of your foot is constantly pushing the other way, and you roll your front hip in. You coil a little bit.
And sometimes I like to use this word. What I do with my pitchers and hitters who can't keep that foot is sink.
Right.
I'm
Yep.
sinking because the
Into
word
the back
load
leg.
sometimes the brain's like a computer. It's got a cookie, right? So it sees this cookie. When I load, my foot wobbles. When you tell someone this, sink. Yeah, I know what sink means.
Right.
He's not sinking. And
No.
if he is trying to tell that, then
He's not. That's what I'm saying. He's
Describe
not
it-
even.
describe it the right way, right? Describe it the right way. If you're doing all this studying, if you're doing all this, describe it the right way about what it is. Don't just make up words to sound good, because people have been loading and sinking forever. Okay.
But he's not loading or sinking because he's instead trying to twist his body around his stable left leg. He's literally he thinks it's almost like the pitchers that wound up before they go forward. He thinks
Right.
if you twist around the leg, it's going to untwist faster. That's not how you load.
So that's our, like you said, there are some good points, but how, like, to me, if you're coaching movement, you need to be able to explain all the movements, especially when someone asks why. And I don't want to hear, I'll explain it later. No, like, explain it right now. I want to hear it right now. Explain the sequence of movement. Now, he'll say on stage that it's, of course, your spine, your forearms. I'll watch him in drills. Start the swing with your wrist. Impossible. It's just not, like his Jeff swing of pushing the hands. I don't think that works in today's game, right? But I mean, that's how we were all taught. The movement still we can't beat kinesiology. It's been around a long time. You have to turn, I don't care what sport, rotary sport it is, you're turn the core, hands are last. Boxing, tennis, badminton, golf, baseball, quarterbacking, pitching, same thing. All the same.
And by the way, watching Jeff swing, that's what he did.
Yeah, of course.
He would turn his hips and his hands would follow, and just like most big league swings. I mean, And that's why he could generate bat speed. You know, he talks himself being 160 pounds, being a smaller guy. That's why he was able to generate enough bat speed to be on time with big league pitching.
Right.
It's not rocket science.
No,
It really isn't. You know, we use big words and we try to, you know, sound fancy sometimes, I guess, but as a
I-
community, we definitely do. But
hate
at the end of the
that,
day, it's, yeah, I know it's
just hate it.
simple.
Just like you should. Well, I mean, the hardest thing a coach has to do, therapist, coach, whatever, is to get someone to duplicate what you're trying to tell them, right? To get it.
Yes.
And to me, you're a good coach. I don't care if you've played in the big leagues or you're a concert pianist. It doesn't matter, right? If you're coaching someone and you can get them to duplicate what you're telling them to do to make them better, you are a coach. You are a whatever you want to say, a teacher, right? And in order to get them to duplicate, you have to, in my opinion, the person has got to understand the why. Why do I do it this way? And if you can't explain the why, they're not going to get it. They're just not. And
Nor should they try to get it. You know, that's the advice we give to our listeners all the time. Yeah.
That to me, that's then you're a coach when you can really truly explain the why.
There are lots of intricacies to a swing, and the biggest struggle that I think younger players have is that you're holding a bat in your hands. You got to hit a ball with this hands. It's a reactive skill, right? We're on offense, but we're reacting, unlike most sports. And instincts will just want to do that. It's not instinctive to turn your hips first.
Right.
And so teaching that instinct, I think, is the biggest thing. And the rest are just micromechanical, you know, small intricacies that you know you add as you get you know, higher and more advanced. But anyway, so yeah, thought that was an interesting, really interesting debate. Was impressed with John Malley for sure. I thought he had some.
Yeah,
really
I've never heard, but I'll definitely keep an eye out. I was definitely impressed with him. Yeah, like I said, I'm sure the Teacherman's got. He does. I mean, there are some. It's just his approach and how he goes about it, and how he can't explain the why, even though he thinks he is. He's not. And
he has some good points. But he doesn't have good corrections to those points. It's almost as if he's out there pitching for everyone to be vegetarian. And then he says, you know, these are the steaks I recommend. You know, like,
yeah. So, like I said, again, this Thursday at our normal time, we do have Kevin Barr, the former strength and conditioning coach for the Florida Marlins, and we are going to ask him the ins and outs of, you know, what it is, who makes decisions, why are there so many injuries in Major League Baseball, in his opinion, like who's actually making the programs to keep these guys healthy? Is it people with a license, people not with a license, people with degrees, people not with degrees? We're going to get all the nitty gritty on this Thursday. So please tune in, and you know, thanks for listening.